If, like us, you find that your pantry is sort of very dark and dingy, and it's sort of quite annoying the fact that there's no lighting, if you want to see how to put lighting in it that comes on automatically, it goes off automatically, and you can change the mode of the lighting to suit your coach or your mood, then have a look at this video and I'll show you how easy it is to do. So one of the jobs that I need to do is something that it's not the end of the world sort of job, but I think it would improve, well, certainly Julia's life, because I'm very lucky that she does most of the cooking. I think I have made something once. I've come over just on my own for a week, well, a few weeks, and the idea is I'm going to do a few of the little jobs that we've been meaning to do without eroding into our holiday, so I can get these jobs done and out the way. And this is one of the jobs that really, every time we open this particular cupboard, it just annoys me that it's an oversight. I'm going to show you what I'm going to put in, and then we'll see the end result. I don't know how long it's going to take. This is the cupboard, the famous cupboard, which basically is very dark, and you know, okay, you can see everything, but I've got every single light on here in the RV. First of all, I need to empty this cupboard, so I'll get on and empty it. The cupboard is bare, so now I need to figure out what I'm going to do. Now, of course, it's always best when you're doing something like this, if you're not sure, to wire it before you install it, just so you're happy that it all works and you know what's what. This basically consists of a control unit which the sensor is connected to, and that is basically an electronic timer switch. That then sends 120 volts when the switch is activated by the infrared sensor. That sends 120 volts to the transformer. So the transformer does the work of dropping the voltage from 120 volts to 12 volts. Make sure you order a DC 12 volt transformer. This then powers the LED lights, and it's really quite straightforward. So as soon as there's any movement in front of the sensor, the lights will kick in, and then based on whatever time you've set, the lights will go out. So my problem, well, it's not a problem, the thing that I need to achieve is I bought this drill. It's nice, it's about, I don't know, 18 inches long. I need to drill through this cupboard into the cupboard next door, which is part of the same slide, and feed a cable through. But I've got to, the old famous saying is, measure twice, cut once. It's actually not as difficult as I first thought. I mean, it's the back wall is all uniform, so the back wall is the same level all the way along. So I'm just going to come down about 3/4 of an inch and come in 3/4 of an inch, and it should come through to the right place. Well, you can be a witness, so if I screw up, we all see it. So here it goes. Thicker than I thought. Now, of course, you can come in below if that suits, but for this particular application, the power is on top, But if there was power down below, I would have taken it from below because it's less conspicuous. The actual transformers and switching units, I'm going to put this side, the bedroom side. So in here you've got just lights. This is a fairly thick wall, and I got a funny feeling there may be a cavity between, so you want to get your cable as rigid as possible, otherwise it will fall down below into the cavity, which mine hasn't, so that's good. Right, so that's my cables through, so that's the most that's, as far as I'm concerned, the difficult parts. Now this is the time consuming bit, because this particular LED strip that I'm using I actually purchased for outside, so consequently it's covered in a clear silicon covering. And if you want to use these connectors you can get, which saves you doing a lot of soldering, if I can get them out the bag, these just clip into place, so you can it saves soldering, but you do have to remove very carefully some of the outer covering. Now if I'd thought this through a bit more, I would have ordered this LED without the covering, because these are waterproof for outside, and then this would have been a really quick job. But I sort of want to use what I got in stock, because I don't want to just keep buying stuff and then carrying it around and never using it. So it's taken me, I don't know, 3 or 4 minutes to do that. I've also removed the drawer front, because the drawers, you know, they're just banged together with, you know, tacks, as most things in RVs. So I'm actually going to change the position of this drawer front so that my lighting fits exactly under the pelmet, and I'll just use a glue gun to glue that back on, which will be as good as, if not better than, 3 tacks. See, drawer fascia. The self-adhesive backing on these LEDs is very good. So you can see that's going to be flush, completely out of sight on the drawer front, and yet these are going to shine the line back on the ceiling of the drawer, going down onto the contents. It's hardwired at one end, and I did try these clips, and actually they're quite easy to put on. I'm going to mount that to the drawer now, and then that will be, not the drawer, the shelf, and that will be one complete, and then the others should be relatively easy now that I've got some sort of format. I really am missing my camera woman, I have to be honest. This is taking ages. I have to keep stopping, turning the camera, seeing what I'm filming. So Julia, change your flight and come over earlier, please, because I'm getting a bit fed up with cooking as well. It's only been 3 days. Anyway, we move on. So I will hot wax this shelf front back on and put it to one side, or I might just put it in just to get it out of the way and then carry on. The only shelf that's going to be a bit tricky is the one that's fixed in, but quite honestly, I think now, knowing that these stick really well to this wood, I don't think that's going to be a big problem. And that shelf has got a big recess, so, well, I can't take it out anyway. This is a drawer upside down, so you can just see where I've installed the lights. They're just under the pelmet of the underside, so they should A, give a very good light, and B, they're very, very well, they're very discreet, so hopefully they look as good installed as they do, you know, on the bench. So here I've just mounted the infrared sensor facing that way. I'm just going to fix this cable along the back. Don't forget, this is the underneath, with hot glue, hot wax from the glue gun. This is a trick they use, a lot of electricians use to secure cables. It's very easy, it's not permanent, but it's as permanent as you want it. So I should do that, and then that shelf's ready to go back. We're really doing well at the moment. So now, of course, putting all these lights on the shelves is one thing. I haven't figured out yet how to connect them all up. So until they're all in place, I don't really know what I'm up against. But the actual fixing of the LED strips, oh, it's a piece of cake. But as I said before, if you ordered it, because there's no need for waterproof, if you ordered the ones without the silicone covering, this job will probably be finished by now. So I don't think it's that much of a job. It just looks horrendous. It looks a horrendous task to undertake. But if you've got the tools and you're quite handy, well, let's wait and see the result, because I'm sure the result is going to be so good. It'll make all the work worthwhile. So at the end of the clips, you've got these connecting strips, so it enables you to connect either your wires to it or onto another strip. So I'm basically doing this on every shelf, and then I need some sort of link wire to connect shelf 1 to shelf 2 to shelf 3. To stick these on, really, really easy. He says, I bet this one won't be now I've said that. Yep. You just peel off the backing, which is, as I say, self-adhesive. Now if you've got these strips and you've had them laying around for a while, they probably won't stick very well. But if they're new, like these ones, you'll be fine. In fact, they're very sticky. So I'm just laying it flat so it's not proud of the pelmet. Now the only thing that I'm doing other than using the self-adhesive is I am adding just a little bit of hot glue just under the end, because the glue gun's packing up, only because it will over time add some, shoot, that's hot. That was a very stupid thing to do. It will over time pull give that some weight, and it may come unstuck, but I mean it shouldn't do. So I just do that to both ends. I'll try and do it on this end without burning myself again. Good. And all I've got to do is stick that to the shelf, and then I'll work out which side I'm going to connect. I am testing every strip when it's on. In fact, I'll do that now, just so we can see what's what, just to make sure they work before we go to all the trouble of putting them up. So this is a 12-volt source, so it's all working fine. So that's another one done. I've just got to stick this onto the front of the shelf with hot glue, which is really, really easy. And I think that was my last shelf. So well, this is the second day of the mammoth lighting job that I've given myself, and managed to get all the shelves completed yesterday. So all the strip lighting on each of the shelves. I managed to get the lighting on the uprights, and I've also figured out in my head how I'm going to supply. I mean, supplying the strip lights on both sides is very easy, but I couldn't really figure out an easy way of getting the power across. So I've sort of figured that out. I think I won't tell you what that is at the moment, because it may not work. So I don't want to lead you down the garden path. So got myself a coffee, first one in the morning. It's about 7 o'clock. So I'm determined to get this job finished today and have a tidy up, because, well, it's just as well Julia isn't here, because she would go, well, she couldn't live in this. I mean, I can. Guys can live in a mess. A lot of women can't live in a mess. To me, looks fine. So this is going to link one side. So as you look at the cupboard, you've got the left side and the right side, and there's a strip of LEDs running down each side. I don't need LEDs along the bottom because obviously that's where pans or boxes or whatever we store there. So that will be pointless. You want the LEDs above. So on the very bottom, to link one side to the other, I've made this cable up using the snap clips on each end. And as you can see, it'll be that way up. So it's pointing up. So the strip coming down one side has power across, and then that powers the other side. Now I've just got to work out how to get the power across to each of the lights on each of the shelves. Work in progress, I think they say. Work in progress. Now I spent most of today actually soldering these tiny little wires. It's 22 gauge wire I've been using, and I spent most of the day soldering these on to these tiny little clips. You really do need a small soldering iron, and this really is all I've been doing the whole of the second day, is soldering. Soldering. Very time consuming, and I'm now at the stage where I wish I'd never started this project. Okay, it's day three of doing this install of LED lighting in the cupboards. I thought it was going to be quite a straightforward job, and quite honestly, if I just had one strip on each side of the cupboard, it would probably be a really easy job. But because I'm Glenn and I wanted lighting under each shelf as well as up and down, it means you have to do this quite fiddly wiring. I did use these special clips, as you can see here, and they've actually turned out to be a complete waste of time. So I actually installed it once with all the clips, and when I tried to test it, absolute nightmare. Now, something worth being aware of is that get yourself a little PP9 battery, because anytime you wire this, you want to test just with a battery to test. And I'm having to use the glue gun, the hot wax gun, to install it properly, because the adhesive on the back isn't really strong enough, and once you've moved it a bit, it just starts falling off. So I'm actually down to my third shelf. So 3 days, it's 11:45 midday here on the third day. Is it a job I'd recommend? I don't know. I'll tell you when I've finished. But I wouldn't like to do this again for anybody, unless they were paying me a shed load of money. But yeah, sometimes you take on jobs and you wish you hadn't bothered, but I'm halfway through it now, so I'm committed. So I mean, I really am going 3 steps forward, 1 step back. I seem to get it all wired and pre-wired with all these little tiny connectors and using heat shrink. I install it in the cupboard, then one breaks and then I have to take it off. And I would have liked to, sort of report a bit more progress, or even, show you how they work, but I think we're a long way off yet. So I'll crack on, and hopefully the next clip you'll see some lights working, maybe, who knows. Of course, once you've soldered your very small 22 gauge wires onto your LED strips, that's only half the issue, because now you're presented under every single shelf with 12 wires, 3 red, 3 blue, 3 green and 3 positives. And I've managed to find these crimp clips that you can just put the wires into and then crimp them. But the issue is you can only get a wire into the crimp clips if the wires are tinned first. In other words, if the wires have got a coating of solder, because otherwise the wires are too flexible and you can't push them into the clips. So this is a job you can only do in situ. So now you have to lay, in this case, I'm on, I think, halfway down, so I'm having to lay underneath, tin each wire before it can be pushed into the connector. But it's slow, but we're making progress, and really, you know, once they're done and I test each strip before I move on to the next one, you know, the end result, I'm sure the end result is going to be well worth it. At last, I hear you say. At last, we've actually got some lights. This is me testing. I think I've got one more shelf to go, but as I said, I test every level because there's no point in carrying on wiring everything if you've got to undo it and do it again. So I'm pleased that they're working thus far. Well, this is day 4 of the cupboard lights, and basically I've managed to overcome a lot of the problems I've had. I've had to go out several times and buy different sorts of clips and God knows what else. So I've got one more shelf to do, and then I need to just link from the left side to the right side, and then on the right side of the cupboard it's one continuous strip. If you put this into a workshop, I dread to think how much it would cost you, because that's 4 days solid. You know, I've not been stopping for lunch. The only time I've stopped is to pop out to Fry's Electronics and get some solder or cables, or, you know, buy stuff I need. But, you know, it really has, this job would be unviable to pay someone to do unless you've got loads of money and you really want it done. As I said previously, I would recommend just one strip down each, one side on the left, one side on the right, and not under the shelves. That way you could probably do the job in a day by the time you've, you know, taken the shelves out and organised yourself. That would be quite straightforward. I mean, it's not really so much that it's colour and it's got 4 wires. If you just use the white or the cream LEDs, it's only 2 wires, so it'll be your choice. But I always like to put the best in, so I've put the colour ones in, and if Julia only wants to use the white, then that's great. In fact, whatever effect you want with this installation, you've pretty much covered all bases. You're going to have up to 256 colours. Now, most people are going to just go for one colour, but I was trying this out last night when it was dark, and you'll be amazed of the difference a colour can make. Unlike the motorhome manufacturers who put a little magnetic switch on, I've done something a little bit different. I've actually put a infrared PIR, passive infrared sensor. So as it detects movement, the lights come on, and the lights will go off based on a predetermined time. Now, if I don't close the door properly, like that door isn't closed properly now, these lights will go off. On the systems which use a magnetic catch, like the ones installed by the manufacturers, the lights won't go off and they will stay on. So that's really the only difference between the two. Would I do the job again? Would I, you know, if given the chance and knowing how much aggravation? No, probably not. I would probably just put a LED strip down each side and then moan that I wish that I'd had put it underneath the shelves. This does look great. It does look awesome, but I didn't expect it to take 4 days. I'm pleased I've done it. I wouldn't do it again, I don't think. Although saying that, I am going to now try and do the wardrobes, but maybe they'll just be white, not every colour under the sun. So I hope you've enjoyed the video, shared the frustration and the fun of doing it. I don't know what other details I can give you. If anybody wants to take on this job, by all means send me an email and I'll give you some pointers on the way that the actual way that I've wired this up. Right, I'm done.